Hello, and welcome to the Megan Taylor Creative Podcast, a show for entrepreneurs looking to grow their business with digital marketing. In this episode, I'll be reflecting on the first year of running Megan Taylor Creative and the things that I have learned since starting my own digital marketing agency. Let's get started. I really wanted to use this episode as a chance to reflect on running Megan Taylor Creative and the things that I've learned as a business owner, because it's actually been over a year now since I started Megan Taylor Creative. And when I first started Megan Taylor Creative, I didn't think that I would be in the position that I am now a year later, when I've actually experienced quite a substantial period of growth. And I've got a roster of clients who I've been working with for quite a long time now, and everything kind of feels stable. And I think that was the one thing that I was afraid of when I first started my business, was the fact that as someone who has a lot of anxiety and suffers from depression, I was concerned that I wouldn't have that stability. And there have been times when things have not been stable, but those times have actually been a lot easier to handle now because I'm in charge and I run my own business. So there's no kind of outside pressure. It's down to me to make money. And I think that one of the things that really appealed to me about starting a business was that there was no limit on the amount of money that you can make. In theory, you can make as much money as you want. It's just a matter of actually setting your business up to generate the level of income that you want. And if you're looking to start a business in the last half of 2022 or the beginning of next year, 2023, which is mad to think about, then this episode might be really helpful for you, because you can see how someone who's very introverted and someone who's not necessarily the best person when it comes to networking and things like that, how they've taken their digital marketing skills that they've developed whilst working in-house and used it to build a business. And I have to say, I'm really happy with the state that Megan Taylor Creative is in at the moment. Obviously, I'd like to grow and I'd like to get to the point next year where maybe I can start outsourcing some projects, and I'd still like to get a few more clients by the end of the year. But I think that I'm in a place now where I can actually start to talk about how I've done it, because I have actually made something for myself. So I just wanted to share that with any aspiring business owners. As always, there's quite a lot to cover in this episode, so let's just get straight into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about before we get into any of the tips is that starting a business is not easy. It's very hard work. And if you don't have a co-founder, it can actually be very lonely. And because of that, every time things go wrong, you may actually feel like you are the worst business owner in the world and you're the only person that this happens to. But you have to remember that every business experiences bad periods. Every business makes mistakes, no matter how much research they do, no matter how much time and money they spend on making a product or a service. Or if you're a digital marketing agency like me, no matter how much money and time you put into creating content or doing a strategy for a client, sometimes clients are just very hard to please. And sometimes things just go wrong that are out of your control, that could affect or delay the schedule that you've had for creating content. And you may feel like that's your fault. But the only reason you feel that way is because you're not seeing the bigger picture. You're sitting there at your desk by yourself without any colleagues. And so I think that the thing that's really helped me get through this is the fact that there's a lot of other freelancers online who have had the same issues and experiences that I've had. And it's really comforting to know that I'm not the only one that experiences this from time to time. So I think that just remember that it's hard and that it also takes time and hard work as well. You have to put into it. And that might mean making sacrifices and putting in long hours sometimes to get a project off and running. I realize that we're heading towards October now, and I know that I'm experiencing a little bit of burnout, and that's just because I've worked very hard this year. I've had a lot of different projects, I've had a lot of deadlines, and it's been great and it's been really good experience, but I'm only human and sometimes I just need to rest. So I'm actually going away on my honeymoon, my delayed honeymoon, at the beginning of October. December. I'm going to Miami, which I'm very excited about. And I basically had to tell all of my clients, I'm going to be on the other side of the world. I'm not going to be on UK time zone. I'm not really going to have a way for you to contact me very easily. Obviously, if there's any emergencies, the best way to contact me would be via my email, but my out of office will be on and my computer will not be with me. So I realized that I need a break, and that's okay. And sometimes I think that you need to remind yourself that you don't have to work all the time either. It's about finding that balance. And a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about today that I've learned since starting Megan Taylor Creative, they all kind of lend themselves nicely to finding the perfect balance. And I've definitely not found that yet, but I've actually gotten very good at finding a balance and being able to take certain days off and things like that. So yeah, let's get started with the things that I've learned. The first thing that I've learned about running my own business and running a digital marketing agency is to set boundaries with clients. And I think sometimes clients forget that you may have, well, I think they forget two things. I think firstly, they forget that you're human. So you have personal responsibilities that you might have to do sometimes. So say, for example, if you're a mum and you're running your business whilst also looking after your kids at home, you're going to need to do things like the school run and go out and get certain things that your children need to do whatever it is that they need to do at school. So there's that, but there's also the side of they're so narrowly focused on their own business, and as they should be, that they might forget about the fact that you run a business and you have other clients too. And sometimes you can't, just drop everything to answer a phone call or jump on a quick meeting because you've got other projects and you know how much time it's going to take and you need as much time as possible. And if it's not a priority, then you need to just say to that client no. And saying no to clients is really hard and something that I'm not very good at, but I've gotten a lot better at doing it recently. And it's made me feel so much less guilty just thinking about the fact that I'm doing this so that I can grow my business and so that I can do the work that I've been asked to do. And you have to remember that you need to do this work, whatever it is you're doing. That's a priority. Say, for example, you got a big project for a week and you're not going to be really available. Clients sometimes have to understand that if they've not really got any priorities themselves, and sometimes weeks are just quiet, but that doesn't mean that, they can suddenly ask you to do 4 or 5 things that aren't actually a priority, but to them, they just need you to do it. But I think that it's about finding that balance between getting stuff done and making sure that your client knows the scope of what you're delivering. I think that it's very important to communicate that with your client. That's why you should have contracts, so you can outline exactly what it is that you're doing, exactly what's expected of you, and anything else on top of that, either the client should discuss with you beforehand or they should compensate, usually in a monetary way. So yeah, that's the first thing that I've learned, and you really should think about how you're going to approach when you start your business, is to set boundaries with clients. Make sure that you tell them what your hours are for working, what your project turnaround time is normally, whether you might require an extra payment if it's a late project and things like that, so that they know how to approach you and how to treat you. Because at the end of the day, although you're working with them, you're not their employee, you're a contractor. So you can theoretically, as long as the work gets done and the deliverables are met, then you can do that however you like. One thing that helps with setting boundaries is having a clear offering. And I think that a clear offering will impress clients and it will help you to essentially attract the right clients and turn off those clients who maybe don't actually need you. And with that, you should also make sure that your offering accounts for what you're actually going to need in order to live. So I think that a lot of the time, young business owners, especially service-based providers, I'm definitely guilty of this. A lot of the time they'll create an offering that's very unclear, but they charge a low price for it. And then what happens is that the client isn't sure exactly what it is you do. So they ask you to do lots of stuff, some of which might be out of your comfort zone and out of what it is that you actually do as a service provider. And if you end up doing the project anyway, because you feel like you can't turn it down and do a bad job, then this is obviously going to affect your relationship with the client. They may not trust you as much, but technically technically it's both parties' fault for not communicating what the working relationship is. So when you're creating a business, especially if it's a digital marketing agency, specify whether you're a full service agency like me, but also if you offer smaller micro services. So if it's a client where they don't want the entire content creation process from strategy to promotion to reviewing the content, they might just want you to do like one specific piece of that, and you need to outline that in a proposal. And I know proposals take a lot of work and a lot of people are trying to steer away from them, but I do think that ultimately proposals are still necessary, even for my clients who are on any of the plans that I have on my website. Those clients, although I've got a predefined list of what I provide them for each plan, I will still make a proposal that's tailored to them so that they know what I'm thinking of. They can review everything, they can add things, they can tell me if they have any ideas. That's a much more effective way to work. It's also more efficient and saves a lot of time and money and saves you from having to do extra work because you know exactly what it is you're doing for that client. The next thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to running a marketing agency is that productizing services and specifically creating subscription-based services is a really good way to create predictable income for yourself, which in turn helps to reduce some of the stress and anxiety that might come from running a business yourself and worrying about where the next money is going to come in, when the next project's going to come, and all of that. Because if you can get a handful of retainer clients who are with you on a long contract, so say for example like a year or something like that, then you know that not only have you got that year already taken off a little bit by client work, which is very exciting, but also it means that you know every month you're going to get paid at this specific time and with this specific amount. And it's just a really good way to boost your cash flow and make sure that you're not having periods where you're not having anything coming in at all, because that's quite scary. And the way I did it was I created a set of plans, and say for example I have a paid ads management plan, I also have a social media plan, several social media plans, and a combo plan where it's like blog posts and social media, and there's a certain amount that you get every month. And I realized that this might not be the most personalized service ever, or might not come across that way, but I think one of the things that I talk about on the actual page itself is the fact that it's a personalized service. It's not like going to a content mill where you just get what you get, and then if you don't like it, there's only, you know, so much you can do to change it, and you might have to do that yourself. And the more work you have to do on a piece of content that you've outsourced, it's essentially a waste of time and money because you could have just ended up doing that yourself. Whereas a more personalized service like this creates a sense of community for you and the client normally runs their own business. I find that a lot of my clients are small business owners as well, so they're doing things about themselves, and knowing that they have someone that they can come to talk to about content and just getting clear on things, I think really helps them. So yeah, that's something that you should really consider, is productizing your services. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that lead generation is constant, and a lot of problems that my clients have is that they're not generating enough leads, and that's because they're not doing the marketing, they're not doing the outreach. But that never stops. There's a reason why all these big Fortune 500 companies in the States or big sales companies in the UK, they all have call centers so that they always have leads and they always have people that they can promote their products to and close deals. And don't ever forget about lead generation and trying to increase leads, because if you do and you don't have any leads, then eventually you'll get to a place where you can't grow your business, and if you lose a client, then you'll actually end up losing money, and that's again a really scary place to be. So the best way to go about this would be to focus on building an email list. We've spoken a lot about email marketing recently. I've also written a blog post on how to nurture your email list as well, so I will link that in the description below if you're listening on YouTube. So work on that, make sure you're delivering high value content, make sure you're showing exactly what it is you do and how you can really help the people that are subscribed to your email list. And then over time, you'll be able to build it into a sales machine essentially, and something that you're consistently seeing revenue growth from. So yeah, that's it. That's everything for today. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode and enjoyed me rambling on a little bit. I planned this episode a little bit, but for the most part, it was very much unscripted and just me sharing my thoughts and reflections with you. As always, if you liked the podcast, please like the video and follow us on YouTube. And if you'd like to work with Megan Taylor Creative, I will leave all the details in the show notes. We offer content strategy, content creation, and social media management services. So if you need someone to look after your content needs, then we'd be happy to sit down and chat with you. So yeah, thanks for listening. And as always, I'll speak to you next week. Bye.